Hi Tanukis, so we're continuing with the Secret Seven. So far, they've just sent out the invites to the Secret Seven and they're about to hold their first meeting of them. So, Chapter 2, The Secret Seven Society. The next morning, 5 children made their way to Old Mill House, where Peter and Janet lived. It took its name from the ruined mill that stood up on the hill some distance away, which had not been used for many years. George came first. He walked down the garden and came to the shed. The first thing he saw was the sign on the door, SS. There it was, bold and clear in bright green. He knocked on the door. There was a silence. He knocked again. Still no reply, though he felt sure that Janet and Peter were there because he was certain that he had seen Janet's face at the little window of the shed. He heard a snuffling under the door. That must be Scamper. He knocked again impatiently. Give the password, silly, said Peter's voice, Oh, I forgot, said George. Wenceslas. The door opened at once. George grinned and went in. He looked around. I say, this is jolly cosy. It's nice to be our meeting place, these halls. Yes, it's nice and warm here, said Peter. Where's your badge? Your button with SS in it. Blow. I forgot it, said George. I hope I haven't lost it. You're not a very good member, said Janet sternly, forgetting to say the password and forgetting your badge as well. Sorry, said George. To tell the truth, I'd almost forgotten about the secret society too. Well, you don't deserve to belong then, said Peter. Just because we haven't met for some time, I do think... There was another knock at the door. It was Pam and Barbara. There was a silence in the shed. Everyone was listening for the password. Wenceslas, hissed Barbara, in such a peculiar voice that everyone jumped. Wenceslas, whispered Pam. The door opened and in they went. Good, you're both wearing your badges, said Peter, pleased. Now where are Colin and Jack? They're late. Jack was waiting for Colin at the gate. He had forgotten the password. Oh dear, whatever could it be? He thought of all sorts of things. Noel, wise men. What could it be? He felt sure it had something to do with Christmas carols. He didn't like to go to the meeting place without knowing the password. Peter could be very strict. Jack didn't like being ticked off in front of people, and he racked his brains to try and think of the word. He saw Colin away in the distance and decided to wait for him. Colin would be sure to know the word. Hello, said Colin as he came up. Seen the others yet? I saw Pam and Barbara going in, said Jack. Do you know the password, Colin? Of course I do, said Colin. I bet you don't, said Jack. Well, I do. It's Wenceslas, said Colin. Ah, sucks to be you, Jack. You thought I didn't know it. Thanks for telling me, grinned Jack. I'd forgotten it. Don't tell Peter. Come on down the path. I say. Look at the SS for Secret 7 on the door. They knocked. Wenceslas, said Colin in a very loud voice. The door opened quickly, and Peter's indignant face looked out. Whatever are you shouting about? Shouting for. Do you want everyone in the village to know our password, you donkey? Sorry, said Colin, going in. Anyway, there's nothing but us to hear. There's nobody but us to hear. Wenceslas, said Jack, seeing that Peter was not going to let him in without the password. The door shut and the 7 settled down. Peter and Janet took the flower pots for themselves. Everyone else sat on the boxes. This is a great meeting place, said George, warm and cosy, and right away from the house. Yes, I must say, you and Janet have got it very comfortable, said Barbara. Even a little curtain at the window. Peter looked around at the little company. We'll have our meeting first, and then we'll have the eats and drinks, he said. Everyone's eyes went to the neat little shelf behind Colin. On it were arranged 7 mugs, a plate of oatmeal biscuits, and a bottle of some dark-looking liquid. Whatever could it be? First of all, went on Peter, we must arrange a new password, because Wenceslas doesn't seem right for after Christmas. Besides, Colin yelled it out at the top of his voice, so everybody probably knows it. Don't be so, began Colin, but Peter frowned at him sternly. Don't interrupt. I'm the head of this society, and I say we will choose a new password. Also, I see 2 of you are not wearing your badges, George and Colin. I told you, I forgot about mine, said George. I'll find it when I get home. And I think I must have lost mine, said Colin. I didn't forget. I hunted all over the place. My mother said she'll make me another tonight. Right, said Peter. Now what about a new password? Hey diddle diddle, said Pam with a giggle. Be sensible, said Peter. This society is a serious one, not a silly one. I thought of one last night, said Jack. Would weekdays do? What's the sense of that? Asked Peter. Well, there are 7 days in a week, aren't there? And we're the Secret Seven Society, said Jack. I thought it was rather good. Oh, I see. Yes, it is rather good, said Peter. Hands up those who think it's good. Everybody's hand went up. Yes, weekdays was a good idea for a password for the 7. Jack looked pleased. Actually, I forgot our password today, he confessed. I got it out of Colin, so I'm glad I thought of a new one for us. Well, nobody must forget this one, said Peter. It might be very important. Now, what about some grub? Delumptious, said Barbara, and everybody laughed. Do you mean delicious or scrumptious? Asked Janet. Both, of course, said Barbara. What's that peculiar-looking stuff in the bottle, Janet? Janet was shaking it vigorously. It was a dark purple and had little black things bobbing about in it. Mummy didn't have any lemonade to give us, and we didn't particularly want milk because we'd had lots for breakfast, she said. So we thought a pot of blackcurrant jam we had. This is blackcurrant tea. We mixed it in with boiling water and put some more sugar in it, explained Peter. It's awfully good. In fact, it's scrumpalicious. Oh, that's a mixture of scrumptious and delicious, too, said Barbara with a squeal of laughter. Delumptious and scrumpalicious. That just describes everything nicely. The blackcurrant tea really was good, and went very well with the oatmeal biscuits. It's good for colds, too, said Janet, crunching up the skinny blackcurrants from her mug. So if anybody's getting a cold, then they probably won't. Everybody understood this peculiar statement and nodded. They set down their mugs and smacked their lips. It's a pity there's no more, said Janet, but there was an awful lot of jam left in the pot. There wasn't an awful lot of jam left in the pot, or else we would have made heaps to drink. Now we have a little more business to discuss, said Peter, giving Scamper a few crumbs to lick. It's no good having a society unless we have some plan to follow, something to do. Like we did in the summer, said Pam. You know, when we collected money to send some disabled children to the seaside. Well, yes, has anyone any ideas, said Peter. Nobody had. It's not a good time to try and help people after Christmas, said Pam. I mean, everyone's had presents and been looked after, even the very poorest, oldest people in the village. Can't we solve a mystery or something like it, suggested George. If we can't find something wrong to put right, we might be able to find a mystery to clear up. What kind of a mystery do you mean? Asked Barbara, puzzled. I don't really know, said George. We'd have to be on the lookout for one. There we go. You know, watch out for something strange or peculiar or queer and solve it. It does sound exciting, said Colin. But I don't believe we'd find anything like that. And if we did, the police would have found it first. Oh, well, said Peter. We'll have to just keep our eyes open and wait and see. If anybody hears of any good deed we can do or any mystery that wants solving, they must at once call a meeting of the Secret Seven. Is that understood? Everybody said yes. And if we have anything to report, we can come here to this Secret Seven shed and leave a note, can't we? Said George. That will be the best thing to do, agreed Peter. Janet and I will be here each morning and we'll look and see if any of you have left a note. I hope someone does. So do I. It's not much fun having a secret society that doesn't do anything, said Colin. I'll keep a jolly good lookout. You never know when something might turn up. Let's go and build snowmen in the field, opposite the old house down by the stream, said George, getting up. The snow's thick there. It could be fun. We could build quite an army of snowmen. They'd look funny standing in the field by themselves. Oh, yes, let's do that, said Janet, who was tired of sitting still. I'll take this old shabby cap to put on one of the snowmen. It's been hanging in the shed for ages. And I'll take this coat, said Peter, dragging down a dirty, ragged coat from a nail. Goodness knows who it ever belonged to. And off they all went to the field by the stream to build an army of snowmen. Right, chapter 3 is going to be the cross old man. So we'll find out what that's about tomorrow. Bye.